Okay, so what we have here is a chart, broker's chart, especially broker here is Fires. It's one of the leading brokers in India, and this is not a sponsored video for Fires. Okay, it's just I have an account in Fires, so I'm using this broker's chart to help you understand how do we set up the Camarilla or pivot points in a particular broker's chart. It is highly useful to have a pivot point set up as I've explained in my previous slide as to like why it helps us at identifying the entry and exit points. For stocks, you wish to have either do swing trading or do intraday trading, identify the edges, and then you can try for stock options also, though it is not recommend. My recommendation is stock options, avoid it, and also to basically get the drift of how a particular stock is advancing in the market. So to start with, every broker has given one indicator for sure, which is this. When you press this FX, you'll have uh, pivot point standard, and some, especially Fires has also given the CPR. I will discuss the CPR. CPR is an indicator which will basically tell you the central pivot range, but that is not covered as part of this video. This video is exclusively for setting up the pivot point on a broker chart. So let's get started. Just add it to favorites, click 3 times, and you would see that the pivot points have been set up. And what I will do, since I've already created the uh, templates, I will remove them just to show how do we save this as well. Also delete this. Okay, so now we have 3 pivot points. Now let's go to the settings of each pivot point. You would see there are different types of pivots. So what we would want is one pivot indicator telling us the Camarilla levels, and we do not want the historical pivots, and we would want the pivot time frame to be daily, and we want one pivot back. Okay, and in this one, we would prefer to have a black line for the pivot and the remaining lines. You can put any color. My choice of colors would be blue for daily, and for R3 and R4 we would want a little thicker lines so as to identify the levels. Okay, and when we do that, we just click OK, and we see uh, the levels have been formed. Let's change the second setting to Fibonacci. Historical pivots off. We want this on daily level. We also want it one pivot back. Here we would change it to black. Again, you can also put a different color, and here we would have something like a light blue color. The same color, yes. We would want the third level to be little thicker, second level to be medium thick. So this is the Fibonacci, and third one is the traditional pivots daily. Show historical pivots of, we would want it for 1 hour, and style we would not want everything, we want only 1 and 3, and 3 we will keep it slightly thicker. Okay, So we usually do not want to see the daily levels. What we have done here is we have disabled the Fibonacci and traditional, and so basically these are a little what you can say is on a higher level. So whenever a your daily pivots cross off on Camarilla scale, you would want to enable the Fibonacci, and if Fibonacci levels are also breached, you can go and check the traditional levels. Okay, so the time frame for the daily um, pivots would be 5 minutes, and we set it to 5 minutes, and we would want to save this. Let's save this as a template, and we would say D, which is for daily. Or let's just type daily, and we would only want the interval to be remembered. So once you do that, you saved it. And one second, before we also do not want the R1 and R2 levels. It will make it more cluttered. Um, so now we can save it. So we name it as daily, and we want the current indicator, which is what points into 3. Save this. Now to make it to generate the same thing for weekly, what we need to do is just go ahead. Since this is now saved as D, we would want to change the settings. Just change it to weekly. Say OK. Similarly, change it to weekly. Okay, and change it to weekly. Say OK. Now what we see here is the weekly pivot, and the ideal time frame for this would be 1 hour, a 1 hour chart. Okay, so now to save this, go to the templates and click here and say weekly, and remember the interval. Click save. So you can happily switch from daily, which is on 5 minutes, and then to weekly. Okay, and similarly now we will shift to the month level. The month time frame would be 4 hours, and we would want the same stuff. Just change it to monthly, change it to monthly, change it to monthly here. Check this out. Okay, cool. And we would want to save this as, remember that interval, monthly, and save it. So now we have daily, weekly, monthly, and you also have annual. The annual, I'll just show you the settings. The settings would be yearly, year, and the same thing goes here and there, but the time frame would be of 1 week. Okay, make sure you do that. So now let's just simply go ahead and click on daily, go to the daily time frame. The how do we read this is basically, see, right now, today as we record, this is of 2nd of May. The NHPC chart has broken out of the Camarillas uh, resistance levels, daily resistance levels. So R1 and R3 basically represent the resistances, S3 and S4 represent the support. So ideally speaking, it has been oversold. Sorry, it has been overbought. So there is a chance that it can now retrace back to a lower side. But how do we know what is the level that we need to look for? So we always start with the monthly chart, and see, this is the start of the month, and it is still has a certain scope, a little more scope, say till 101.6 for it to go above. All right, and once you identify that okay, 101 is the maximum it can go, no, it can still go higher than this. Let's see the traditional lines as well. You can see that it is going to go till 109. I think the all-time high for NHPC so far, I think in the last 52 weeks is 115. But if you are already holding position in NHPC, like uh, and you want to book your profits, the first area that you should look for is 98 or 101. And if it breaks out above 101, you can still book your profits at 103 as well as at 109. Okay, so if it goes above 109 and you still have positions, uh, that's good for you. I mean, you can always go for the annual pivot and see if it is already above the annual pivot range. See, if you see this is already above annual pivot range, and uh, 141 is the maximum it can go. But I would still exercise caution when it breaks above uh, the 101 levels. And if you're holding a sizable position, then and if you're booking profits, then book it. Okay, so for intraday trading, you can probably plan a sell here and wait for it to come down. On daily basis, you should do that. Check the daily levels. It has already so on intraday is all about the same day, right? So always look at the daily chart. If it's the start of the week, uh, you should look for the weekly chart first and then identify the levels at which it can take, take or make the break, make or break the levels, then take positions accordingly. And let's just say that this is uh, NHPC here has broken above 97. It can go till 100. And if you see, 100 is the traditional R3 for this week. At the same time, 101 was monthly R4. So there is a high chance that it might get retraced or it can fall from 101, 102 levels. So you can this view can be expressed strongly uh, through the pivot points. That is one way to know. Uh, you can always observe and backtest. On daily chart, you once this daily levels are reached, enable uh, the next levels. Let's say if you see here the weekly, it is honoring the weekly resistance. See, it has, sorry, it is honoring the Fibonacci resistance. And if you see, it has not gone above, I mean, it made a tail, but it did not sustain above 98.75. Today, I think the high was 99.2, but it did not breach above this level throughout the session. So I am assuming that this level was actually used by the intraday sellers to make take an entry position here. Let's say you take an entry position at 88, 98.75, and you make it come down to 97. That is, I think, a rupee, 1 rupee. So 1 rupee and 25 paisa. So 1 rupee 25 paisa, and intraday you get a leverage of 5x. That is out of the scope of this video. You can make a decent amount of money from this by selling 1,000 or 1,500 stocks. Okay, so that is all about in this video how do you set up the levels. I mean the Camarilla setup, or sorry, the pivot point setup for uh, any chart in a broker. So just change, let's say just if you change to any chart, this will get applied. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay. All you need to do is just save by the interval and follow the instructions, and it will and keep testing this on daily basis. You would understand uh, how this is going to be. Okay, thank you for going over the slide. Let me take it off. Thank you.